You're watching the Three and You Giant Fans podcast brought to you by Scott, Giant, Mike, and Cardone. We're sponsored by Manscaped.com. Use code AGRYMAN to get a 20% discount and free shipping. And download our audio podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
So that was Brian Dable recapping the Cowboys game. Summed it up well. Dallas made more plays. Daniel Jones was under duress quite a bit during the game. They got to go back to the drawing board and get better. You know, when he was asked about how Evan Neal did, well, you know what? We all have bad plays, and we work on them, and we get back out there next week. So we are the Three Angry Giant fans, and we got a lot of firsts this week. First loss for the Giants. But also, this is our first podcast that's available on YouTube. So go to YouTube, search Three Angry Giant Fans, and you get to see us all in our ugly banter. For those on audio, you hear an intro. The people on video do not hear an intro. They see a piece of paper that introduces the Three Angry Giant Fans, and we got the production quality of an Aurora studio with Wayne and Garth.
Yeah. Wayne's World. That's our level of production quality. Just get a piece of paper and tape the logo to it and hold it up to the screen.
We're coming to you from like a basement or something like that, you know, just a cellar.
You need to get a ponytail like John Clayton did. So again, we are the Three Angry Giant Fans. Your host Scott, Giant, Mike, and Cardone. And guys, that's a game we've seen time and again over the last 5 years, a frustrating loss, lots of stuff to unpack. Initial impressions, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, I think we've all been sort of expecting this game. And, you know, Cardone and I at least were expecting a score similar to what we got out there. The way we came about it maybe was a little bit depressing. You know, there was a lot of last year in there. There was a lot of unable to get yards on first down, which essentially was to me, the key of the game. The Giants' inability to get yards on first down. It'd be in the 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9. And, you know, 2nd and 8 felt good. That's how bad it got in that game is, you know, we had a bunch of 2nd 13s and stuff like that. So, you know, it's concerning. You wonder, of course, again, gosh, I feel like a broken record. Everything comes back to the offensive line. I get concerned about Barkley when he has these games where he just can't do anything. And yeah, I know a lot of that's, you know, the offensive line. I get that. But I just want to see it on a more consistent basis. But again, it's hard. It's hard to evaluate Daniel Jones, as we've been talking about for 4 years. But yeah, this game itself, I mean, all you had to do was watch this game to understand, guys, what we've been talking about for a long time. The Giants blitzed 15 or 16 times, I think I saw. Cooper Rush, even on blitz plays, was just bouncing around back there, just waiting and looking. Almost, you know, very, very little pressure, despite the fact that we're coming with our ears pinned back on you know, half the downs. And then you watch the Giants on offense, and Daniel Jones somehow, this is an amazing stat to me, pressured the most times in his career. How is that even? This guy's been running for his life for 3 years. How did this game on this Monday night at this time become the game he was most pressured in ever? He still stood in there. He made a lot of plays. He made a lot of plays where he escaped and, you know, found somebody out of scramble drill open. Notice I didn't say made a lot of plays with his feet. I'm not gonna fall into that trap. But yeah, those are my impressions. The score didn't surprise me. What disappointed me more than the score is the way we got to the score and how they actually looked out there. You know, big picture, when I back up and look at it, if someone told me the Giants were starting this season 2-1, when I looked at that schedule, I would say I will take 2-1. So here we are.
There's not a lot of X's and O's to break down in terms of that offensive. If this offensive line, and we're going to talk about it a lot, guys, right? Because this offensive line, if they continue to play this badly, then how much is there to break down? They're really, because this was, you know, a couple stats. I mean, Mike, you just hit on obviously, you know, the entire keys. I mean, the key to the game is both lines. Us being harassed by Dallas's line, Jones, we'll get to that. And his stats, somehow he was only pressured on 24 dropbacks out of 49. So do the math. It's almost exactly half, right? How the hell was it not 48 out of 49? I don't know what they classify as a pressure in this league, but Daniel Jones, to me, was pressured 49 out of 49 dropbacks or whatever the hell he had. He still managed to complete 20 passes somehow. 24 pressures. You just said it. It was the most pressures a Giant quarterback has been under since 2009. That's obviously Eli Manning, right? So we've seen him harassed and pressured in his heyday, and what bothered me the most is this is sort of this oxymoron, if you will, because the three of us have talked about Daniel Jones not knowing what we even have in this guy in terms of an evaluation. Is he this guy? All I know is Jones is ready to play the best football of his career, and we just won't let him. The offensive line won't allow him to play the best he can play. And the jackoffs on ESPN, I did somehow stomach the nerve to watch some of it on Tuesday morning after the game just to hear what they were going to break down and say. And because the Giants are 2-0, somehow now the first time they're relevant in 6 years, because it was Monday night and because it was the Cowpokes playing at MetDeath, the whole country was watching. And then these guys, all of a sudden, these analysts are saying, you know what, Daniel Jones, he actually played, they used the word actually. He actually played pretty well. Right? You love that. Yeah. He plays by, that offensive line didn't help him out. That you got to have his back. No shit, assholes. We've been saying that on the Three Angry Giant fans for 3 years now.
Yep. That
this is the worst offensive line in the National Football League. You can say what you want about Cincinnati or some of these other bad offensive lines, guys. This is. Now, all right, the run blocking, there's some holes there. Barkley got some more nice carries. Obviously, he had the 36-yarder for the touchdown. But this pass blocking, let's just specify it then. This pass blocking, if this continues, first of all, Jones ain't going to survive the season. He's not. He'll be on a fucking cart by week 10, being dragged off the field because there's no way this guy could take that many hits. Our quarterback getting sacked 5 times, only 5 times, most of that because of Jones scrambled around running for his life. He should have been sacked probably 9 or 10 times if he wasn't just running around. And our defensive line, and I know, Tibbs and Ojulari, and we'll get into this, these guys are coming back from injury, so maybe they weren't 100%, but it's inexplicable and inexcusable that we didn't put Cooper Rush on his ass at least once. He wasn't sacked once. I don't know how many knockdown hurries and other hits that he had. Can you guys imagine this, guys? Imagine the pressure that Jones was under if that was Cooper Rush on Monday night. Would he have even completed a single pass if he was under that kind of pressure? And I'm not to take anything away from Rush. The guy actually, he should be starting somewhere from what I've seen from him in the last couple of games. Mm-hmm. And so this is not, he's not a newbie to the NFL. He has started, not a ton of games, but he's certainly looked pretty poised out there for a guy who's a backup quarterback. And so it's the line on both sides of the ball that always is the outcome of the game. And Monday night was a classic example. And somehow we hung in there. And I know we'll get into Scott, Mike, and some of the key plays. I got a few of them that I marked down to turn that game or could have turned it in our favor. But offensive line, man, it's devastating, guys. They're devastating.
Well, Chris, just to punctuate what you just said, because I went and looked at the stats while you were talking there. We blitzed Cooper Rush 15 times. We sent blitzes after him 15 times. 5 hurries, 2 hits.
Yeah.
On 15 blitzes. That is pathetic.
Yep.
That's really bad. Now, comparatively, Dallas blitzed 16 times, one more time than us. 5 sacks, 10 hurries, and 7 hits on those. One more blitz than us. I mean,
we were blitzing. We were sending Wink, his game plan. I mean, it hadn't changed, right? I mean, he's been aggressive. They're staying aggressive. So there were some key plays. We were sending people. It wasn't like we were just sitting back having it shoved down our throat, right, guys? I mean, we couldn't get there. So look at the difference between but how is this over the course of what seems like decades that a team like Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys have this amazing offensive line and the New York Giants can't figure it out. We can't figure it out. Evan Neal, holy shit. He had, I don't care that this guy's a rookie, and I know that's his third career start, but my God, he was just dreadful.
Yeah. Now, on the bright side of that, I mean, Andrew Thomas once looked like Neal his rookie year, and Andrew Thomas. Here's an interesting stat. So I'm going to give you a stat correction, Chris, because this
Okay.
was the most that the Giants had been pressured. A Giant quarterback had been pressured 25 pressures since they've started compiling that stat, which I believe was in 2009. So it
Yes.
could have been, it could have been since 1980 or something since a
Yeah.
Giant quarterback was
Great call,
pressured that
Scott. You're
much.
right. Since they started keeping that stat, you're right.
And then the second part is that Evan Neal. So we gave up 25 pressures. Evan Neal. Oh, not Evan Neal. Andrew Thomas gave up one. One pressure on that line. So you have one guy that is rock solid, and you got the rest of the guys that are letting up, pressures every other play on a drop back, which it was. It was every other play.
Yeah, it was. From what I saw. Again, watching the Manning cast, which I'm never not going to do when it's on, but you don't always, catch every single nuance of every single play when you're watching the Manning cast. But from what I saw, primarily Thomas was one-on-one with Parsons a lot of the time. Maybe he was getting a little inside help or a chip from time to time, which is no shame on anybody. You've got to do that against that guy. He will wreck your day. And, Demarcus Lawrence looked like Demarcus Lawrence from 5 years ago against Evan Neal on the other side. So, yeah. It was, I wasn't even sure that guy still played for the Cowboys. It's been so long since I've heard his name. And I'm like, what year is this game from? Demarcus Lawrence still plays for them?
And I think he had 3 sacks in the first half.
Yeah.
Well, it was either the Manning cast, which I just love anyway, but either that or listening to Troy Aikman do a Cowboy game. Not on your life am I listening to that chop.
And Dallas fans are saying, or listen to Eli Manning do a Giants game. That's their choice.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So before we get into the meat, let's give a shout out. So hello, Moscow, Pennsylvania.
Oh, threw a curveball.
Yeah, it's just south. It's about 15 miles southeast of Scranton, which is the home of
Dunder Mifflin.
Yeah.
It's near the Poconos. So we got some listeners out there in Moscow, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Right on, Moscow.
Yeah. Well, I was going to use Russian for hello, but I forgot what it is. I can't. I don't not brushed up on my Russian.
I think while the Ukrainian conflict's going on, we just have to not use any Russian stuff.
Why do we have to go there? For my video game friends out there, no Russian. That means something.
So a lot of stuff happened in that game. Shep probably played his last game certainly as a Giant, possibly as an NFL player, and on one of the most freakish injuries you're going to see, where he's jogging and just all of a sudden grabs a knee and goes down like he's been shot or something. We mentioned before that Neal had a rough night. Kenny Galladay looked disinterested. Tay Crowder was pushed around and missed tackles when he had a chance. We really missed. This was the key for me. We really missed Leonard Williams in the middle, I thought. If you watched the first 2 games, we bottled up Henry and McCaffrey pretty well. And then when Leonard Williams got hurt in the Panther game, McCaffrey had that long run, and then we saw the Cowboys have 2 long runs up the middle,
right up
those were key plays during that game. So, Mike touched upon this. If you said after 4 weeks that 3-1 would be a best case scenario, we're on pace for a 3-1. Start. And we'll talk about the Bear game here in a little bit. I mean, let's break down the Cowboys game first. So, let's go into the offense. I mean, the bright spots there for me were Daniel Jones looked like he bought time when he was pressured. He used his legs when he needed to, but better yet, he kept looking downfield for receivers. And this is what bugs me. But, we're going to get into the rhetoric of our own fans talking about Daniel Jones and the way he plays in a little bit. But he kept plays alive and then threw the ball before he get to the line of scrimmage to guys that were open. And he made those plays all night long. And Saquon Barkley, the touchdown run that he had, that cut that he makes in the middle of the line is one of the best you're going to see a running back make. And as much as I can't stand the next gen stats, apparently that was the fastest run by a running back when he turned the corner and went like 20 miles an hour or whatever to that touchdown. So it's like,
He got to that corner fast. I mean, that looked like he was going to get pushed out of bounds at the 6, and he just runs right by the guy. It was impressive. Let me get this out there. Sorry if you had something to say,
No,
Chris, I
no, that's
apologize.
it. I was
but,
just gonna.
I kind of in the opening there, I kind of got down on Saquon Barkley. Let me just rephrase that. I'm down on handing the ball to Saquon Barkley on first down and him getting 1.5 yards. Everything else about his game is pass catching. Obviously, he's found a way these last 2 weeks where the other team has bottled him up pretty well. Most of the time, he found a way to get some yards and some plays in there. There's little doubt that he's our offensive MVP. I just meant we need to be able to give him the ball when the other team's expecting a run and get 4 yards.
Which we did weeks 1 through 2, and then the Cowboy game was back. We lost some yards behind the line of scrimmage on first down. Like you were saying, we're starting on 2nd and 13 a lot of times, 2nd and 12. Penalties would push us back.
Yeah, it felt like we had a ton of 2nd and 3rd and 10 or plus yards to go in this game, and a lot of that had to do with when you're getting sacked all over the place, right? And there were some key penalties as well, but. Yeah, you guys just hit on a couple things. I mean, Barkley, the guy, we've seen it already in the first couple of weeks, but he is the guy's he's at full steam, man, and that's encouraging. He's mentally. I saw an interview with him. Trying to remember where I heard it, but it doesn't matter. But we all know that most of the time coming back from an injury, I don't care what sport it is, it's more mental than it is as much as physical, right? So Barkley and we knew this last year when he was trying to, to come back, like he didn't have the mental capacity, right, to be at full steam. So now, he used the term like, I'm trusting my body right now. So seeing him at 100%, at least week in and week out, gives us the excitement to know that he can break one off every single game. And he did it again on Monday night. So the 36-yarder, which put us up, by 7. We're all feeling great, right? And then one of my, we've talked about it a million times, right? On 3 Angry Giant Fans here, the score after the score. Yeah. And sure enough, it barreled out. Dallas, that started a string of 17 unanswered points there in the 3rd quarter. But and we'll get into some of the plays that caused that. But the score after the score was what was devastating. And I don't know, guys. That's at least going forward. Barkley, we have him in our arsenal, and I'm not, Jones, Daniel, like I said, he's ready to take ownership of this offense. The line has got to improve, man. We thought last year they bottomed out. Monday looked a lot like last year. It looked like a game from last year, and we still had a chance to to tie the game in the end there. So last year, that's probably we probably get blown out in that game. Cooper Rush, no Cooper Rush, whoever, Dak Prescott, whoever, it doesn't matter who was on the other side of the field. So that's encouraging. Yeah, guys, we're 2-1, but being the 3 Angry Giant Fans, it wouldn't be us if we weren't a little pissed off as losing on Monday, because just the way the game pans out, and it's the fucking Cowboys.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say in pregame, we had to listen to Des Bryant talk. Like, where the fuck has Des Bryant been? They kept panning the crowd to Des Bryant. And, of course, we got the gratuitous shot of Jerry Jones at the end of the game when they're winning. And it's just everything about that team bothers me, from their fans on down to the owner, to the coach, that fat ass somehow bumbles his way into a win. And really, I mean, we could have lost by a lot more. There were some plays that we left out on the field. There were plays Cowboys left out on the field. We talked about this, guys. We were texting when we went up by that touchdown, and we said, just don't let don't let the answer touchdown happen.
Let's get the ball back with the lead. Even if they kick a field goal, let's get the ball back with the lead and play with the lead. How about that? Right. Mike McCarthy, man, that guy sucks. What the hell is this? What are they doing on that 3rd down where the guy catches the ball and runs out of bounds? But they totally kept us in the game. Of course, we couldn't take advantage of it because, did that one play at the end of the game tell you everything you need to know about the Giants wide receivers?
Yeah.
So Sills falls down. It causes an interception. And on the same play on the other side of the field, Shepard's career ends. That's the New York Giants receiving core, my friends. There you go.
The second highest paid receiving core in the NFL, mind you.
Yep. Incompetence and injuries.
Mhm.
That defines us. And by the way, speaking, since we're on the wide receivers, Galladay dropped that ball on purpose. I mean, if you go
Oh,
back and look at that, dude, he
I
looked
mean,
like it was like he was chest passing it in basketball,
yep.
and then he did not even care that he dropped it. Get
No.
that guy out of here.
No, man. Galladay, we've talked about it. I mentioned him before the season started. I'm like, he's the guy that needs to step up, and he, if he's taking the place of Evan Ingram as my most hated Giant. Kenny Galladay right now, I despise the guy. I really do. I want him off the team. He's useless. I made a point of it, Mike. Yeah, 7:44 was the exact time left in that game. It was and we're down by 7 in the fourth quarter. 7:44 to go, and Galladay, he all he has to do is make one man miss there, and he gets that first down. And it was 3rd and long. I think it was like 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 12, Scott.
3rd and 12.
But Galladay, if he made one move maybe to the inside after securing the ball like a good receiver does, a mediocre receiver does, and this guy can't even give us a chance. At least that could be one of those where, who knows, maybe he comes up just short, maybe we go for it. There's that play right there kind of sealed the game. Even though there was still 7+ minutes left, they were only down by 1 score. That, in my mind, that Galladay drop, fucking game's over right there. It was over.
That was a tough one.
I hate reading body language, but because we people did it with Eli his entire career, and it didn't matter. He's just a silent assassin. But you're Kenny Galladay, who's come under fire the last couple of weeks for not performing, not getting snaps, not earning snaps, and then you get in the game and you have 2 critical plays that you don't perform on. You don't look pissed off. You got a stadium full of people that you're not even acting like you give a shit. And that to me is the inexcusable part. I mean, maybe that's not his demeanor, but if that's not his demeanor, do something on the fucking field. Do something where you contribute. He is the reason we have the highest paid wide receiver group right there, and he's getting outsnapped 3-1 by David Sills and Richie James.
Yeah.
and how many teams? And we're 2-1 right now. We're probably going to go to 3-1 after the Bears. How many teams can say they're 3-1 with Richie James and David Sills as their wide receivers?
Are we really counting the Bears game as a win right now? Are you
with
really?
Justin Fields as their quarterback, I'm counting that game as a win.
I can't wait to talk about the Justin Fields matchup. But Scott, you just mentioned something funny. Like, you just mentioned Galladay's demeanor, which, you know what? Let's get Elaine Bennis, aka Paloma, Uncle Leo's nurse, and at least Galladay, if you're not going to really be pissed off, let's at least fucking pencil in mad eyebrows on Galladay to at least give the illusion that you're pissed off. And remember Leo was there.
Why are you so angry,
the dermatologist was like, hey, Leo, I don't care for your demeanor. Your demeanor?
Yeah.
All right, now you're just being difficult. Yeah, so Galladay's just being difficult right now just for the sake of it. And he just sucks. So I don't want to get sidetracked here on the whole,
no, why
Lane Bennis Seinfeld thing here, but Galladay.
Why don't we go into some of the plays you've highlighted, Chris, and because I think the turning point was that drive where they answered, but there are a couple other key plays.
Well, I'll give you one. My favorite one of the night was the tie game, 4th down and 4. And the quick little slant over the I think it was CD Lamb.
We let him have a free release.
Okay, but what am I going to say, guys? Where's the measurement? Where are the sticks? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And not only that, what pissed me off
the game. Yeah.
Right, Mike. I mean, and you knew it was coming as soon as you saw the play develop. You saw the pass coming before pre-snap. They're not going to go. Cooper Rush is not looking down the field. He knows exactly where he's going before that snap, and that little 4-yard little dart in the slot there. And we were just a hair late, picking that up. But we blow the guy up right at the imaginary yellow first down line, which is unofficial, right? We all know that. And sure enough, it's did he get there? I don't know, you heard I listened to the regular broadcast with Buck, and I love how the announcers phrase it like, where are they going to put it? Like, we'll put it where he was tackled. Don't just put it past the yellow line because we want to just we don't want to move So sure enough, you saw the official comes out and literally moves forward at least the length of a football, just so there's no controversy about that it's right on the line, right, Mike? I mean, you saw
absolutely.
They give that extra, and you can't challenge that because it's not going to be overturned.
Yeah.
And what guys, what is this obsession about moving the clock there? Who is this pissed off about bringing some chains out onto the field where we can? That's a critical play. The game was the ball was on the 40-yard line. If that ball, it's how do we know that's an automatic first down? What is this obsession about moving the sticks and just rolling the clock? And the game was tied. It's the fourth quarter.
Unfortunate sequence too, because we had just called timeout prior to that play to settle things. So I firmly believe, had we not called timeout, maybe Dable challenges that. But because he already called a timeout, he's not going to waste a second timeout challenging it. And like you guys said, it may not get overturned. It probably won't get overturned. I saw from the one angle, it looked like it was dead set right there at the stick. So at the very least, bring the chains out to measure, like you said.
Yeah. Just bring the chains out at a minimum. Like, chances are he probably got there. But again, what is the issue with taking an official timeout and taking 30 seconds to bring the chains out? I can't stand it, guys. I really can't. And I know this is today's NFL, but as soon as the play was happening in real time, I go, oh, there it is. Just they're not going to measure this. It's just going to be an automatic first down. So
there's a point here, Chris, and I know maybe we're getting off the track of this specific game, but it's interesting that you're not disputing that it was a first down. Like we've all said, it probably was, and it's not. It didn't cost the Giants the game. There's nothing like that. It was probably the right call on the field. But this idea that the official thinks it's a first down, so he gives the another half yard to make it indisputable, that's horseshit, and that's fairly new here in the NFL. Now, I do remember quite a few years back a game with us against the Eagles where the official put the ball down and kind of looked up and saw he marked it short of a first down, so he moved it forward a yard.
That's the sticks were coming out, by the way.
Yeah,
so
as the sticks were on the way out. Yeah, he moved it over.
Guys, we're on the same page. It's not that. Yeah, I'm not disputing that it wasn't a first down. It wasn't something like, bullshit, there's no way he got that. You could tell he's short. No, with the naked eye. But again, we all know that in years past, what they automatically would official timeout and bring out the chains and lay it. Chances are he probably got there, but I just don't understand why we can't measure to be absolutely certain. I just don't understand.
Yeah, and we're going to come back to this in a little bit because I'm going to talk about the officiating as a whole. Not that it cost us a game, but that it's been terrible league-wide, and there's some cause for concern, I think, in the NFL with the officiating. So let's table this for right now and talk more about the critical plays that happened in this game.
I was going to mention one other, but I'll let you guys take this one.
No, go ahead.
The offensive PI on Sterling Shepard, the pick play, was just devastating. Yeah. I mean, Shepard, we all saw the replay. Shepard's trying to get first a couple things. He run. I think it was Diggs, right? Wasn't it Tavon Diggs who ran into, or Diggs ran into him? Two things. Shepard's trying. He doesn't even see him. He's running a fucking route.
Yeah.
Shepard's finishing up his route, and the ball just again. The play is broken down as usual. Jones is running and scrambling for his life. So, he's rolling to his right. So, that's on the near side of the field for the TV side. And Shepard, you see the replay, Shepard, he's trying to get out. He doesn't even see Diggs. And then when he does, he's trying to get out of the way.
Yeah. Guys, we've been watching football 50 years or so.
Yeah.
This is back-to-back weeks that this has been called when I literally don't remember ever seeing a downfield offensive pass interference called on a pick play in my life.
No. It's what's interesting about this, and here's why I'm glad we're on YouTube now. People can see my air quotes that I'm giving. The player who was picked in both cases had no fucking chance to make a play on the ball.
Right.
It's not like a pick immediately at the line of scrimmage where you're rubbing the guy covering the other guy off. These were cases where, like the example from the Dallas game, the ball was 10 yards further downfield and 6 yards from where the pick play happened. So I do not. So I don't get it. And in either case, there's an argument of who even initiated contact. Yeah. Shepard's looking into the backfield. Diggs is the one who kind of shoots his arm out at Shepard, or I'm sorry, at whoever. It was Shepard.
It was Shepard. No, it was Shepard.
So I mean, who's initiating contact there? It's just, and you know what's funny? Both weeks that it happened had to be like a super critical play in the game. It,
Oh, yeah.
it couldn't have just been, a first quarter, second drive of the game, not even for a first down throw. Well, A, because they wouldn't have thrown it in that situation. They wouldn't have even thought of throwing it in that situation. But, it just has to be, it's like, and I'm not even just saying this is the Giants anymore. When I look around the league, if you're going to make a big play, especially this year, way more than even last year, you better have all your I's dotted and T's crossed if you're going to make a big play in the NFL right now.
That was going to be one of my points later. So
no, I'm sorry.
no, again, but that's the state we're at right now. And the thing that bothers me most about that play is that's something we used to refer to, in youth sports. If it looks bad, there has to be something that happened. So Diggs is on the ground writhing in pain.
Yep.
No one thinks that it possibly could be because Diggs is,
an idiot or a pussy.
Exactly. It's that there had to have been something that happened that caused him to be in pain, and it had to have been a Giants' fault. I don't even know if the flag came out. I don't remember seeing a flag thrown on that play. It was after the play was done, all of a sudden they huddled together.
Yeah, that's the
It's
one
almost
thing
like
you
the
miss.
guy called him over. Like, wait a minute. I think look, this guy's injured down here.
Yeah.
And I think it's offensive pass interference. That's why he's injured.
Oh, we said Brian Dable is like this amazing offensive mind, right? So he is the inventor and the initiator of the 30-yard pick. And, pretty soon, a lot of things have to go right for a 30-yard pick to work. Yes. But we've seen, man, when it happens, big play city. Unfortunately, the officials aren't going for it at this time.
That's the one thing with watching the Manning cast, guys, is like you're not even aware sometimes when a flag is occurring, right? Or where there's a penalty sometimes, because it's those two are talking about, they're still trying to do doing their own analysis, and that particular play, and there was a couple others in the game where, I didn't realize what happened. All of a sudden, there was I think it was a holding even on Dallas at one point. Dallas had picked up a first down. I remember being all pissed off, and then all of a sudden I see them like in a 2nd and 15. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? I didn't even realize there was a holding call.
Yeah,
So
there were a couple times where the flag indicator didn't come on, or the refs just got together and talked about it. So the one that made me mad too was the one where Shepard supposedly came off the bench after Jones was hit out of bounds, which you never see called, by the way. Mm-hmm. And Shepard was going into the game for the next play, so he's not really coming off the bench. He's going into the fucking game.
Unsportsmanlike, right? Is that what he got?
So instead of it being like 1st and 15, and then you move the ball back or something like that, it's offsetting. So the Daniel Jones run never happened, even though Shepard came off the bench after the play.
Yeah, that's it.
It should have been first down, mark it 15 yards from where that penalty would have been on Jones.
Yep.
First down.
He was near midfield at that on that.
He was past midfield.
Past midfield with the penalty, with the 15-yard and all. Yeah. That's brutal.
The Giants play offense, dude. Like, my dad used to say, like, the field is tilted uphill in their direction, but they play offense like they're like running on a treadmill. It's like if they take a breath, they go backwards. It's very frustrating to watch. And there's something to be concerned about here, since we're still on the offense with the Giants move the ball between the 20s really well this year, a lot better than last year, even with the shitty offensive line. But man, inside the 20 or even inside the 30, really, once we get to the edge of field goal range, we can't get out of our own way down there.
Yeah, and part of that I think is because we don't have a Galladay that's doing anything. We can't throw to that tall receiver in the end zone.
Yeah, I think the Giants get a little happy with pass plays down there. Everyone says you got to run the ball in the red zone. There's a lot of cliches in football I don't agree with. I totally agree with that one.
Yeah.
And it seems to be like, especially the last 2 weeks, not so much the first week, that we got down there and all of a sudden it's reverses and throwbacks and screens, and it's just like run your offense down there. Don't get too cute. Yeah, we need points badly, but we have Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. I was hoping to see a little bit, maybe some more screen plays to Barkley, get him the ball in the open space a little bit more. I think I want to see that in the next couple of weeks. I want to see Barkley get out to the open space, and we have to, guys. I mean, let's face it, we don't have a vertical passing game right now. Jones is not going to have enough time. We're not going to fix this offensive line overnight. So this is, I can't stand this work in progress. I was reading a few articles last couple of days about all the, and just even the quotes from They're all saying the right things. Evan Neal was obviously and rightfully so. He was getting beat up by the media and and he was saying all the cliche, stupid things. I got to be better, and that sometimes it just happens that way, and things don't go the way. Stop it, dude. Just go. You know what I want to hear as in your fourth career start. I got to work my ass off. I got to get better. I got to do a better job. Like that's it. That's all I got to say. Don't so he's one player on that offensive line, right? It's a group. It's a collective unit. They all got to get better. But I don't know, guys. This, it's again during the game, kept hearing comments like, "Oh, it's now, let's see an out and up from the Giant receivers." How? We don't have enough time. You got to protect the quarterback to run those kind of routes. Yeah, it's great because the corners and the secondary for Dallas, they were pressing because they're expecting the short pass. They know Jones doesn't have time to throw. So it would be great to do the hitch and then, try to, throw one over the top. Jones doesn't have even an extra second and a half to do that.
Yeah. And there were a couple times that Slayton was free deep too. And Jones was pressured immediately and he probably was looking for him. He was probably the intended target on that play and he just couldn't physically be able to throw the ball deep because there's a guy within, his face at that point.
Yeah. I thought the same thing, Chris. I know Peyton and Eli were like,
they were saying it over and over, right, Mike?
Yeah. You could tell they don't think much of Diggs, because they're like, this guy can be had. He's jumping things out and up. And I'm watching TV going, what makes you think a Giants receiver has enough time to run an out and up?
Or that we even have the type of receiver to get that much separation. We don't.
Yeah.
Who's getting separation? Shepard,
I get it.
Galladay. I tell you right now, I mean, I trust James and Sills more than Galladay right now. Shepard, poor guy, man. That was that not the most? I mean, we already talked about it, but was that the strangest freaking injury that you've ever seen in terms of a torn ACL? He wasn't making a cut. No. He was jogging, not even full speed, straight ahead. What is that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was heartbreaking too because he's really the only veteran receiver we have. And now we're looking at a core that has Sills and James as our starters. If Galladay can't pick up the slack, Slayton hasn't been able to do anything. And Wan'Dale Robinson and Tony, you never know if they're going to be healthy.
Yeah.
Like to the love of me, Tony wasn't even on the injury report until Wednesday last week.
Yeah. If Galladay doesn't get double-digit targets and 6 or more catches in this next game, just cut him. What good is he on? If this is our receiving core, and we're not looking at Galladay on every other pass play, what is he here for?
Yeah,
it's an expensive cut though because he's
cut bait.
That's the dilemma, man. Yeah,
trade him to some team that. Like the Bears, who they're 2-1 and they think they're good. Trade Galladay to the Bears.
We need someone to sign Gettleman as their GM, and we could trade Galladay to him.
There you go. Now you're thinking.
But it was a comedy errors on the offensive line. We already talked about Neal, but Glowinski gets blown up on a couple of plays. Feliciano was getting blown up, and he unfortunately was downfield on a play where he's a center. He's got to know better than to be downfield on a screenplay that went for 18 yards or whatever.
I so wanted to argue that, and then they showed the replay. Dude, it's like 35 yards downfield. I'm like, what are you doing?
The officials are usually kind of leaning on that one. It's sort of like the play clock where they kind of give that grace period with the, when the clock hits zeros, they give you sort of that by the time they look up. Kind of similar with the illegal man downfield. They'll kind of let you maybe drift a yard or two, but once you start just wandering downfield, these.
You get that little extra step on the delay a game unless you're the Giants. We got to delay a game this last time. It looked like the clock had just hit zero, if it hadn't even hit zero yet.
I mean, that might have been the world record for getting the delay game flag out. It was like the official had it out like this, just holding it back like a baseball pitcher. And the second it hit zero, boom, he just got it out of there, that field so fast. That was, everyone talks about, the extra beat. Yeah, you get the extra bullshit, extra beat. When a clock is at zero, it's at zero. The extra beat is from 1 to 0. Get me going on that one.
Guys, as much as we're ragging on the offense here, I think it was the defense that ultimately cost us this game. We talked about the score after we scored to put them ahead, but we couldn't get stops at the end. And, on defense, McKinney and Love are playing fantastic. Adoree Jackson played very well. Tibbs and Ojulari first came back, they were, I think they were on pitch counts because they were getting subbed out. They didn't make an impact. We got nothing on the pass rush.
Nothing.
Yeah, you couldn't tell they were back. Without
Nothing.
Leonard Williams in the middle, we couldn't stop the run in the middle. And our linebackers, both McFadden and Crowder, were just ineffective when people got to the next level. McFadden shows good instincts. I was watching the guy. He looks like he's diagnosed something, but then there's other plays where he's just out of it.
I got to believe, guys. Mike. I locked in on Tibbs a couple plays on specific plays. I was zoned in and just looking at number 5, and I got to believe there's no way he's 100%. Now he didn't look explosive at all. He was very tentative with his first couple steps. I mean, a pass rusher, that's that first step, right? To show that explosion, regard of what whether you're doing like a bull rush or you're doing a side step. And Thibodeau had nothing as far as acceleration in his first step, and then trying to get up the field. So I got to believe that he's not 100%. And then, but you're right, Scott. The defense didn't. They had a couple drives where, quite frankly, we dodged one bullet with Lamb dropping that what probably was a touchdown in the open field. I couldn't believe he dropped that ball, and that was earlier in the game where I think I'm trying to remember the score at that point, guys. You remember the score, but regardless, it doesn't matter. But so we dodged a what could have been 7 on that play. The defense had a couple plays where they bend don't break type of drives, and Dallas was settling for field goals. So I was thinking to myself, all right, the defense is doing enough, but then when they weren't getting pressure on Cooper Rush and not making plays on some key downs. If you look at the box score, Dallas was 5 for 13 on third down. They did pick up the fourth down, which we already covered. So, 6 for 14, probably not good enough, really. If you look at, getting off the field, right? We always talk about defensively getting off the field and the score after the score. We've seen that way too many times.
That's more conversions we gave up than in the first 2 games combined.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that right there is pretty bad. By the way, guys, the stat we were all over last year, was at the end of the half scoring. And we've gone now a year and 3 games without scoring before the end of the half.
Uh-huh.
And I'd have to go back. I'd have to actually go back to the last game prior to the season before to see if we scored that. I think we might have, because I think the streak is actually 20 games right now.
Now that's, when I think about that stat, though, that is a Joe Judge stat to me. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I don't take that as a team stat. This is for me, Daboll is 0-3. That's I can't think any further back than that. Scott, you mentioned not having Leo in the middle, certainly a factor. No one could argue that. You know who else we miss in the middle? Blake Martinez. And I get it. I get why he had to go, especially with the new coach. You don't want someone in there with sour grapes or whatever was going on, but there's a price to pay for it. And, you could argue he might be injured by now anyway, but
I wonder if we'll see Jalen Smith this next game. He's on the practice squad. He's got to bring more, veteran savvy to the group. He looked pretty good last year when he played.
In my last Madden run through, which, about 10, 12 seasons or whatever, Jalen Smith was a Hall of Famer.
Well, guys, I was just looking at some of the more stats that our run defense. Pollard and Zeke. I mean, Pollard is more frightening than Zeke.
Oh, it's not close anymore.
It's not even close, right? I mean, Pollard is frightening when the ball's in his hands, and he gashed us a number of times. Obviously he had the big long one for 46 yards, but looking at our run defense, and again, this is a tribute to Dallas's offensive line, obviously, which. Are they the best offensive line in the league? They're definitely top 5. Would you guys not agree with that? I mean, in terms of, Pollard and Elliott, 28 carries, 178 yards. I mean, they gashed us.
And part of that was Leonard Williams not being in there. Part of that too was that Ojulari and Thibodeau did not do a good job at setting the edge like Jihad Ward had been doing prior to that. And I think that's part of the reason that those guys were being subbed out too. We got gashed a couple of times. That, the play that epitomized the Giants in the last 4 or 5 years was the 3rd and 12 pitch out that Dallas did, where they get the first down. That's something we've seen over and over again. We could never do that.
No,
but yeah,
that's a 5-yard loss when the Giants run that play.
When they run the 3rd and 12, it's a give up play and they get the first down.
Yeah, there's nothing more frustrating in an NFL football game than a team who straight up just pitches the ball or hands it off on 3rd down and gets a first down. Yeah. They are trying to punt. They don't want to put the ball in harm's way. They want to punt the ball back to you. And I'm going to do my, what's his name? The Bears coach impression there.
Like
the Cardinals coach about the Bears.
Oh, Denny Green?
Denny Green.
We let them off the hook.
You want to crown them? Then crown their ass.
I was going to make the comment that maybe we stepped up in class here a little bit with Dallas, but does anyone think Dallas is that much better than Tennessee? I don't.
It's funny watching the recaps of the game and the talking heads talk this week. You would think that Philadelphia and Dallas, and actually I heard one analyst say this week, that Dallas and Philadelphia will meet in the NFC Championship game.
Oh God.
So, we know Philly's getting the love right now and they look pretty good. Dallas, they could be had. We had a chance,
Gosh, you look at this game and you look at our ineptitude on both sides of the ball. And we're ahead in this game with 1.25 to go with a chance to win it at the end or a chance to tie anyway.
Yeah.
The idea that somehow this is a get right game for Dallas, we'll see, because I'll tell you this. Any Dallas fan right now listening to this and thinking, well, we didn't have Dak, we had Cooper Rush. You tell me what Cooper Rush did in that game that Dak is going to do any better. There's nothing. Cooper Rush sat back there in the pocket and threw short passes to wide open receivers. Exactly what Dak Prescott does every week.
Guy made plays. Cooper Rush made plays. I mean, he did.
Yep.
So Godot was automatic again. He's basically been our MVP. One thing I thought was promising, we got a very good game from Bellinger.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's starting to progress. He's starting to become one of Daniel Jones's targets. He's releasing pretty well, getting some extra yards. He looked pretty good. I don't know what else you guys want to focus on for the Dallas game before we move on to the Bears.
No, I think we can move on. I mean, I think listeners here can just tell we're frustrated. I understand the Giants didn't play well the first 2 weeks and found a way to win, but it did seem like we were making strides that in this game we kind of gave back a little bit.
Yeah.
The biggest takeaway for me is that our offensive line regressed.
They had
been doing well. We had been opening up holes on first down, at least for the running game. So we got us in second and manageable. Mike, that's what you led with tonight was, we're all of a sudden second and longer than 10 or second and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in previous games, we were 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5.
Right.
Makes things a lot easier, both on the play calling as well as the conversions.
Yeah.
Well, especially we are not a big play offense unless Barkley breaks one. That's our big play, and you don't know when you're going to hit those. You don't. And so in the passing game, we don't have a big play. We don't have an Odell Beckham that's streaking on a slant that's going to break one, take it to the house. We don't have that.
Nope.
We're probably not going to have that all year.
No, Odell's just sitting out there. Just saying.
Of course, he's got a torn ACL and probably can't play till November anyway. But
I think he can play, can he?
Is he better than Kenny Golladay?
Yeah. Would you take this is a serious question? Would you take Odell in a walking boot or Kenny Golladay the way he is right now?
You know my answer. Golladay is my new Evan Ingram. I don't want this guy anywhere near anything I'm doing on the weekend. As a famous quote, recent famous quote from somebody.
It's a good point, Cardone. I think one of the problems the Giants have, we've never looked at it from that angle before. We have so many players, or maybe not so many, but Ingram was certainly one of them. Golladay is now, who when they're on the field, it's not like they don't do anything. They're a negative impact on the team. We'd be better playing with 10 players than some of these guys.
Ingram actually did make catches. Like he would make he did make, caught balls, and he would occasionally get a first down. This Kenny Galladay, I mean, what are we dealing with here, guys? I mean, this is unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
This is a quote unquote number one receiver.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know who else used to catch balls? Larry Donnell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the same thing I think about Evan Neal, and I get it with Evan Neal, and I agree with you guys. He's probably going to be fine, and you got to play him because he's got to get this experience. But we can't pick up a 38-year-old tackle on off waivers who can't get in someone's way. Just lay down when the ball is snapped, for crying out loud. Make them step over you. Just do something. Escorting them to the quarterback.
So I got to give a shout out to our listeners and now our viewers who have supported us with Manscaped.com. So Manscaped is our sponsor, and we have hit our quota for the month, and we will be entering into a longer term sponsorship with them. I'll give you guys the details when we learn them. But
thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
I want to give a big thank you to everyone who placed an order. It's been good. I mean, we all got our packages and we love them. So, support for the 3U Giants fans is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. And you can use the code AngryMan if you go to manscaped.com. You get 20% off your order as well as free shipping. So, guys, anything you've done in the last week with Manscaped products?
I don't want to get too personal, but yeah. I mean, this stuff is so good. You guys didn't even notice the whole first half of the podcast. I was shaving my balls. Nobody even said anything.
Multitasking, right, Mike?
Yeah. If it's saw me a couple times, like, look, they're very quiet.
The lawnmower is a silent. Lawnmower 4.0 is silent. The
Yeah,
lawnmower 1.0 might have been loud as hell, but I never
think
had
that. Had a gas engine that you had to start like that. That was the first version.
The lawnmower is awesome. The same thing. It's got its own built-in muffler or something, right?
Yeah,
it's just I love that thing.
It's got a headlight on it too.
Listen, if it weren't for Manscaped products in my house right now, I'd be a much more angrier guy. I mean, the fact that my anger is actually tempered a little bit because of Manscaped.
Yeah, it might have taken our edge. You're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
But no, I'm placing an order for the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. That's my next order. So
I know our Jets
next
fan
on my
who
list.
was on the audio podcast, Novak, got the shampoo and conditioner. He loves the shit out of it.
Absolutely, he influenced my decision there. I was on Manscaped.com the other day looking around. I'm like, I'm just gonna go, like piece by piece. I'm gonna own every single item off of that website.
Yeah,
shampoo and conditioner. That's my next one right now.
So not only can you manscape yourself, you can also dress yourself there at manscaped.com.
That's right.
Look at this beauty. That's the back, by the way. That's the back of that shirt. Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. Your balls will thank you, it says on there.
Yes, they will.
They will.
I gave a plug out the other day. I was getting my hair cut, and the stylist was like afterwards, she's like, by the way, we have some products over here that you could choose from. And I'm looking at these $35 shampoos going, I got a place I can get shampoo too. It's manscaped.com.
Right on.
Go.
I should have had a video with me so I could have taped that and used that as a plug.
They probably hear that all day.
Another one of these guys with the shiny balls.
Yeah. Trying to sell their foo-foo products. Get out of here.
All right, so we you guys weren't as enthusiastic as I am about this Bears game. I look at what Justin Fields has done so far, and he's completed 25 passes in the first 3 games. By the way, the worst stretch since the modern game has been recorded in the first 3 games of a season. No quarterback has thrown less than 25 completions.
Can I make a stat correction here? My dash is showing 23, Scott. You're giving 23. This guy too much credit. This guy has thrown out not one, but a pair of 8 for 17s somehow. Completions and attempts. And in between that, threw a 7 for 11 against Green Bay. 23 for 45. That's who's trotting into MetDeath Stadium on Sunday. Yeah, if we don't beat this guy, if we don't beat his ass, you want to talk about anger next week? If we don't beat Justin Fields, wow. We could break down this game all we want, and we will, but Is there any? This guy is his quarterback rating right now, which I don't put a lot of stock in, but there's a lot of people who do. This guy's fucking throwing a 50 out there right now.
Let
50.
us
If
remind.
that was a Wonderlic score, that would be great, right? He's throwing a Wonderlic perfect score out there as his quarterback rating.
Our new video watchers, I just want to put this out there. Giant Mike predicted that Justin Fields would be out of the league after this season.
No, 2024.
2024.
Yeah.
And I think you're right on path.
Yeah, well, my feeling for Justin Fields is I may have originally said 2023. So, but either way, it's going to be close. I'll tell you what, my newest bold prediction with Justin Fields, he won't finish this year, and not because of injury. He will not be the Bears starting quarterback at some point this year. I know the last Bears coach had pressure to play him or whatever. I don't know what's going on with this coach, but my God, you just got to. You think the coach and the offensive coordinator don't get together and go, we would love to throw the ball. Like, how can we? And you could tell it's not. You could tell they know what they've got with him by when they throw, the situations they throw, and the amount of times they throw. It's not like the coaches are fooled and think, oh, he's just going through a bad patch. They know this guy stinks. They know he does. And I can't figure out for the life of me why even in week 3 he's still out there. I would almost be afraid for the Giants to get up 17-0 in this game, because I'd be like, please don't bench Fields. Please don't bench Fields.
I know.
It's that kind of game. So on that front, you guys know I'm 1,000% with you on the Justin Fields thing. He is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL right now, and it's not even close. There's not a close second as a starting quarterback. This guy sucks. He's the worst. I mean, when you go back and over the years, there's been other Justin Fields, but I think Justin Fields is the best Justin Fields ever.
By the way,
as far as the worst.
Just got an alert that Tua was stretchered off the field in the game tonight.
Oh man.
So we are recording on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday, but
we have some live football action.
Tua was stretchered off the field. So breaking news. You're probably watching it already. So
go ahead, Mike. Sorry. No, I was just going to say, we've seen other quarterbacks like Justin Fields come in, and for some reason that we've been able to unable to uncover here at 3 Angry Giants Fans, the media loves these guys, loves them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work out for any of them. Justin Fields, in my mind, man, Sean King was doing something. I mean, Justin Fields does nothing.
Well, Mike, you just hit the nail on the head. That's what causes it. It's not even Fields, because it's the media's love affair with this guy, trying to elevate and anoint this guy that he's like this new up and rising star of this league, and he's not. We know that. He's not a Lamar Jackson. He's not one of these guys that's taking the league by storm. Shit, like RG3 did, do that in year 1. Kaepernick took a team to a Super Bowl. This guy, Justin Fields, and we're going to be facing this guy on Sunday. He's got more rushing attempts than completed passes right now. He's got 27 rushing attempts and 23 completed passes through 3 games in the of this season. That's ridiculous.
So going back to last year, and the Bears have somehow won 2 games. That's what makes me nervous about Sunday. And I know it's 1,000% on their defense, obviously. But Justin Fields might break off one really good run and one mediocre run in a game. You go on ESPN, you watch the game highlights. They show both of those runs. Then right at the end of the package, they show the other team scored a touchdown. Oh, and by the way, the Texans won 41-8. That's the it was all Justin Fields highlights. And oh, by the way, the Dolphins won that game, 36-3.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of similarities with the Bears to us in that we both have a poor offensive line, and Fields has been running for his life when he does pass, just like Daniel Jones has been. Mm-hmm. He does make worse decisions with the ball when he looks like Jones did in year 2, basically, where Jones was making a lot of mistakes in the face of pressure. They have a very good defensive line, and guys, that's really what's won it for them, because if you look at their first win was against the San Francisco 49ers with Trey Lance still trying to get into the offense with a monsoon that they're playing in Chicago, and then I watched some of the highlights of that Houston game. The Texans didn't look like they wanted to win.
Yeah.
they had several chances to take the game by the throat, and they
had a
just
10-point lead, didn't they?
They let them off the hook.
Yeah.
Justin Fields is who we thought he is, and we let him off the hook.
Now, I will say this. Barkley can do some damage against the Bears. I think we're going to have to lean on Barkley because I'm not sure we're going to be able to trot out either Wan'Dale Robinson or Tony. So I think our receivers are going to be shorthanded. We haven't yet elevated anyone from the practice squad or signed anyone else outside. It would have been nice if we could have gotten like a Cole Beasley last week, but he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I don't know what we're going to do there. Montgomery is probably out for the Bears. They're running back, but Herbert, who's his replacement, has been really good. So he had a monster game against the Texans.
Yeah, I know one thing for sure. If this were 1988 and Bill Parcells was coach of this team, this would be a game where Sims would throw about 11 passes.
Mm-hmm.
We would run draws on 3rd and 10 the entire game. We would be thrilled to punt the ball, and we'd sit around and wait for Fields to make a mistake, and we would win this game 10-0.
Yeah.
I don't even think that any coach in the NFL thinks that way these days. But it's very, very simple again, and I'm going to sound like a one-trick pony, and I don't care. If the offensive line can keep the Bears off of Jones' back, we win this game going away. There's no question. But that is the biggest if of all time.
Yeah.
There are ways we can win this game with Jones under a ton of pressure. If the Bears defense plays the exact same game against Jones that Dallas did last week, and Jones has those same kind of numbers, we'll win this game.
Yeah.
The only way we can lose it is 1,000 hits on Jones. He turns the ball over 3 times. Outside of that, the Bears aren't beating us by lining up nose to nose and playing football.
No. And I think this is a get well game for our pass rush. I think either, because Tibbs and Ojulari have another week under their legs, I think we're going to get more pressure there. I think we're going to get, a few sacks. I just think there's going to be some disruption that our defensive, pass rush is getting us, whether it's coming from the blitzes from the secondary or from the side. I don't know, but I think that's going to be the key to this game. And I see the Giants, winning this game handily somewhere in like the 24-7, 24-9 range.
That's being kind of ballsy there, Scott, with
it is
kind of a double-digit win, which we don't ever get those. I mean, here's the other thing, guys. Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of the Panther game last year, which was a double-digit win.
Yeah.
And it was close at halftime, and then we exploded in the second half. This reminds me of one of those games. I mean, Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold in that case last year, he was no better than Justin Fields is going to be.
Yeah. That's a good call. Kind of similar almost that game going back to last year, which I remember took that game in at Giant Mike's house last year.
Yeah.
Watching the Panther game, one of our 4 wins last year. That's why it's actually memorable, because I only had 4 of them. So I actually remember where I was when that game occurred. But yeah, guys, I think unless there's let's assume there's not going to be some kind of freak play, where the game can turn on something stupid, right? I think Wink is going to dial up another. We're going to stay aggressive. We're going to get after Fields. We're going to see a lot more blitzes, and we'll get to him. We're not going to go another week without sacking the quarterback. So I don't think we're going to see another goose egg from our defensive line. So yeah, well, if we can disrupt, it doesn't take much to disrupt Justin Fields. I mean, we just got to harass the hell out of this guy. I do not want to see. And maybe do we spy the guy? Do we do the old classic, spy him in the middle of the field maybe? And because he has a lot of those designed runs, right? He has those quarterback draws and those kinds of plays, which I can't stand that kind of play in the end. It just drives me nuts. But I love it when Jones does it, right? So I can't, I can't be that kind of fan where like, oh, I'm, psyched when my guy does it, but can't have it run down our throat. So, and the old classic, I hate throwing this out there, guys, but I will. The bullshit. We don't turn the ball over. Which we didn't really. We didn't turn it over against Carolina, right? I think we were +2 in that game, right? And then. All right, the I almost don't even count the turnover with last drive of the game. I don't think we're coming down on the field. Maybe you never know, but Sills falling down, the interception there by Diggs. That's certainly not on Jones. So, but so we really didn't turn the ball over in the middle of the game against Dallas. If we do the same thing, we protect the ball and don't turn the ball over. Yeah, I see us winning this game. I'm not going to be as rambunctious as Scott with 24-9 kind of score. But I see another low scoring game. Here's what I was going to ask you guys. What's the weather in East Rutherford on Sunday? I think there is this Hurricane Ian going to be up there and causing some rain?
I think it
because they're usually a day behind we are in terms of the weather.
Might be a little bit of
Coast.
wind, but I don't think there's going to be too much rain.
Okay.
It's
probably not going to be ideal.
North Carolina State game Saturday night, and I think the hurricane at that point is going to be in Virginia.
Yeah.
So
throw that as a little X factor there in terms of the weather. If it's going to be a little windy and wet on Sunday, I think that'll slow things down even a little bit more. But I do see the Giants pulling this out. I'm going to go with maybe another Gano field goal fest and something like a 19-13 win, something like that. Something similar to what we saw against the Panthers 2 weeks ago. So
yeah,
I am predicting a win, but I think it's going to be within like a 6-point win, something like that.
Third week in a row, Cardone and I are going to predict a very similar score. I have 19-10. As my type of score. That's what I see happening. Let me caveat that with, if we can get a Fields turnover and a score by the defense, that's where we get to a score like Scotty's.
Yeah. And I do think
awesome.
We're going to see that, in front of the home crowd, I think we're going to see some guys get well on that defense. I want to see a guy like McKinney or Love, or even Dory Jackson, get some reward for the way they've been playing. Our interceptions have been few and far in between this year. Our sacks have been few and far in between. So defensively, we're not getting a lot of negative plays.
Which is
out there.
It's hard for me to imagine at week 3 where we are. I mean, week Martindale, I don't blame it on him. He comes as advertised, man. He is bringing the heat. He doesn't have the talent to get there. And I've never known. Of course, Wink Martindale's usually coaching a pretty good defense, so I don't know if he knows what to do. I don't think anyone knows. If week 5, if this still looks like this, is Wink Martindale going to back off on the blitzing? I don't know.
I think he just plugs and plays more guys that can blitz.
Yeah. Just keep going deeper and deeper in the depth chart. Find a guy who can occasionally disengage.
So before we get to pet peeves, one topic I did want to bring up, and this has bothered me for this entire season, and it comes from our own fans. Everyone talks about New York Giant fans being intelligent. If everyone is so intelligent, are we really going to stick to the narrative that Daniel Jones can't see the field? Daniel Jones is what's holding back this team. If you watch that game against Dallas, you can't have two things be true. You can't say Daniel Jones holds onto the ball too long because he's locking into his primary receiver, because that doesn't make sense. He would just throw to his primary receiver right away. Second of all, how can you say he's not seeing the field? There's no one open when they show the wide views. He's trying to do what he can. And the couple times we have made plays downfield, we've had bullshit offensive pass interference. But
that's what I think that's what you're getting into a little later, Scott. We said it earlier. You better not have anything that can even look like a penalty on a big play right now.
And here's what I'll say about Daniel Jones. I think we said it best here in the opening earlier. We don't know what we have, and it's year 4. That's the frustrating part. But the part I cannot sit there and say is, I watch this guy and I can't sit there and go, this is the worst quarterback in the NFL, especially when Justin Fields is coming into our house next week. Mm-hmm. I look at Daniel Jones as a guy who is doing his best to try and get us moving forward. But again, he's got Richie James and David Sills as his primary targets half the time.
I said this last year. I maybe even said it the year before. If Daniel Jones, there is some head coach GM combination out there who is right now keeping their lips sealed and sitting back and saying, man, I hope the New York Giants cut that guy. Man, I hope they don't renew his contract, because we're going to bring him in here. We're going to put him behind a stud offensive line, and we're going to win some games with this guy. Yeah. I desperately hope the Giants are that team, because The next guy might be who our fan base thinks Daniel Jones is, might be unable to play. Maybe we just get a guy like, get Justin Fields in here, and just that way, at least the media will like our quarterback for a change.
Yeah, again, guys, when I don't go into the game worried about Jones throwing the game away at this point. I mean, now listen, has he had some of those moments where he was careless with the ball? And absolutely, he has. I think those days are behind him. Like I said earlier, I think he's ready to play the best football of his career. I think you can see it just in the way he commands, the offense right now, even in like stupid things, like even in the huddle, like it's his team right now. It's him and Bark. Like he's one of the leaders. He's, 4 years on the same, he's a veteran now, he's not the new guy anymore. This is his team. I think that's the message. I think he's understanding that, and he knows it. And again, he's not a vocal guy. He's not a rah-rah guy. That's kind of like the Eli demeanor, right? In many ways. And we can win with this guy. Bottom line is, can we win with this guy? Yeah, we can.
Sure
we can.
I've seen a couple people hold it against him that he doesn't have like a fiery demeanor. But I don't know if you guys saw Saquon's interview this past week when he was being, they were talking to him, and he said Daniel told him in the huddle before his touchdown run, he said, hit the motherfucker this time. Because the last time he went to make a cut and he didn't make it. And he's like that, he goes, I got fired up because my quarterback had my back on that, and that's the kind of thing. Fans sitting on their ass on their couch sees Daniel Jones running for his life, and they think it's his fault that he's running for his life. They don't think it's Glowinski's fault, or they don't think it's Feliciano's fault or Neil's fault. No. They see a guy running around like he's just running around because he has people open. He just doesn't want to throw the ball.
Yeah,
I've heard Giant fans say Dable doesn't trust this guy to throw the ball. Then why the fuck are you throwing the ball 40 times in a game if he doesn't trust him to throw the ball?
That's brilliant commentary, man. He doesn't trust him to throw it. The other one I loved was, I think it was after the Panther game, Scott, where we both got on a guy on Twitter who said Daniel Jones is seeing ghosts out there. And we're like, are the ghosts wearing Panther jerseys? Because that's I saw them too. Seeing who was the quarterback who admitted, I'm seeing ghosts out there?
Sam Darnold.
Was that Darnold? Yeah.
That was Darnold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I set this up earlier, guys, league-wide, and it was evident in the Giant-Dallas game, officiating in the NFL is at an all-time low. And it isn't just that there's officiating errors. It's that these guys are affecting the game in key times. How many big plays in the Giants-Cowboy game? And it goes both ways. I mean, we saw Darnay Holmes tackle a guy in the end zone, no call. We saw a lot of big plays brought back for both teams. We saw a lot of plays that could have been big plays that weren't called, that should have been called. But it's going on league-wide now. Every time there's a big play, you have to look at the goddamn screen to see if there's yellow there. And I can't for the life of me understand why the referees won't let the players decide the games and dictate the games. Why in the fourth quarter of games on key drives are we seeing, go back to the Cardinal Raider game last week. Why are the Raiders getting called for 5 defensive penalties in the fourth quarter, extending drives every time so Kyler Murray can get a touchdown? The announcers go, Kyler Murray led the Cardinals to a victory. No, he was handed the victory by a bunch of calls.
Yeah, I love the led his team to a victory when the drive was a sack, a 48-yard pass interference call, a
hitting defensive holding penalty,
a 1 yard, a 1 yard run that ends with hitting the quarterback out of bounds for 15, and then a quarterback sneak to score the touchdown. I let him down the field.
And illegal contact has just got to go away. Illegal contact half the time is the receiver running into the defensive back, and we were the beneficiary on a 3rd and long, where the receiver is just running downfield and the defensive back standing there, and you plow into the defensive back, and it's the call's on you. It's on the defensive back that just got plowed over.
Yeah, just standing there. I could go on for a long time about this. I'm going to be so angry when we're done talking about this that I probably can't even effectively do a pet peeve. This would be like my pet peeve, but I don't understand any of it. A couple weeks ago on this air, I said I accuse the NFL of trying to make exciting endings. But now you watch this week, and I go back and look at some other games around the league the last couple of weeks. At the same time they're doing that, they're calling back big plays at like a record rate. So I don't get the logic behind any of it. And the thing that's really confusing to me about it is, I think I said this the other week too. If I'm Roger Goodell, I say, hey, let's get the officials. I need to talk to the head of the officials. Let's go. Stop this. Stop it. Whatever we're doing isn't working. Just cut it out. But it never stops. And our friend Scott, who knows the tendencies of all these officials, their tendencies never change. Jerome Boger has led the league in holding calls for since the 70s. It never changes. So no one's saying anything to these guys. And the guys we think of as the worst, the guys that make the most infuriating, mind-numbing calls are reffing playoff games. I don't know if this is still the case, but back in the day, they used to tell us that was you earned a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
And, you really had to earn the Super Bowl, right? So I want to complain about this. I want to go nuts. I want to uncover the reason for it. But in the same game, it contradicts itself. So, I maybe early in the game, they're calling back the big plays because they're keeping the score close. Then late in the game, if there's one team behind, okay, now we're going to give the offense the benefit of the doubt. So I'll have to break it down and look at it like that. Is it first half, we're going to stop big plays. Second half, we're going to help the team that's behind. I have no idea. It's infuriating. I said this after the game this week, actually to my friend who's a Dallas fan, and he gave me a thumbs up. He agreed that these games are rarely decided really by players anymore.
No, and
they really are.
There's a simple fix to that. It's call the things that actually impact what's happening. Yeah. Don't call a defensive back because he's got a hand on some guy's hip 20 yards downfield. Don't call a penalty on a guy who passes off a receiver by pushing him in the shoulder and say it's illegal contact. Call the shit that matters. And I'll go here. Here's one thing that's infuriating. They let a lot of stuff go in certain instances, but then there's nothing said on that punt return right before Dallas got the last field goal to put them ahead. There's a giant at the 50 who literally has his jersey stretched outward as he's being thrown out of bounds. And I'm like, all right, there's the flag. And then all of a sudden, no flag, and everyone's going nuts about the return. Oh, that's the return the Cowboys have been waiting for. Well, yeah, and the whole reason it happened was at the point of attack at the 50 where the guy's going to make a stop, and you're going to get that penalty that pushes him back 10 yards. No, it doesn't happen.
There wasn't one, guys. There were two. I watched that play before we came on, looking at some key plays in the game. There were two blocks in the back on that punt return late in the game. And what's crazy about that play too, guys, is that we all know the officials, that's the first thing they're looking for on a punt or a kickoff return is the block in the back, right? I don't know what the percentage is of those that get, 'cause you don't even see them anymore. This is the NFL. We don't have punt and kick returns anymore. They're gone. They're a thing of the past. So the fact something has to happen in today's NFL for a punt return to go more than 10 yards. Oh, somebody had to get blown up. Sure enough, there were two of them. Go on. I mean, it doesn't matter at this point anymore, but we're talking about it right now. It's fresh in our heads. Watch that replay of two Giants getting just steamrolled from behind, getting launched out of bounds.
Yeah.
Out, I guess, at the point of attack.
Yeah. At the
in
point
the
of
open.
That's
in the open field. Point of attack in the open field. But you were just saying it before, Scott, about these calls. The officials. We've seen this one a million times, either a defensive hold or a block in the back. I can't stand when it's on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
When they show the replay of the guy where the pass is intended, and let's assume it's a third down. We love that one, right? The 3rd and 10. So you see nothing. I didn't see the guy even put his hand on the receiver. What happened? Oh, it's on the other side of the field is where this penalty occurred. Those are the ones that were the official just you're deciding the outcome of the game in that in many times.
Yeah.
It's just not. We've said it a million times. I'd rather go with the NHL hot style of swallow the whistle in the 3rd period and overtime than call than to see these bullshit phantom calls in the NFL. It's just I don't
Well,
understand it.
the game is, and people, my dad was saying this back years ago, but I think it's especially true now. These guys, they can't keep up with the game. I mean, even the refs who are in good shape, these are world-class athletes that are out there playing.
Yeah.
They can't keep up with the game. They can't have their head on a swivel enough to see everything they're supposed to see. I would 1000% advocate for officials to not even be on the field, to be in a truck outside the stadium with a billion cameras on players not in the play, just an overhead camera, just cameras all around the stadium, and the officials are in a truck, and they can quickly see what happened and make the call from the truck. And there's like one official on the field who spots the ball where the guys in the truck tell him to. And, I would 1000% advocate for that, because I don't think, like the thing Scott's talking about, where, the defender's looking in the backfield, the receiver comes up to him, and he just the defender puts his hand on him just to kind of keep him in range, doesn't grab his hand, just puts it there just to know the guy's still there. I don't think you're calling that if you're not running with those guys and head on a swivel, and all you see really quick is a guy's hand go up and hit the defender, and you're like, well, there's that. I don't think you're calling that if you're watching it on TV and you realize that's on the other side of the field. And call, like you guys both said, call the obvious ones. Look, if it's on the other side of the field, but the defender grabs the receiver and throws him on the ground, you got to call that, because the quarterback might have been able to throw the ball there. So
Here's what I think. Go ahead.
No, I'm just exasperated. I was just wrapping up. I'm glad you interrupted me. I'd have gone on forever.
No, I was gonna say it's sort of like when you're on the highway, and you're in like a 6-mile backup, and you get to the front of the line, and you're waiting to see death. You're waiting to see like an ambulance or something, and there's nothing. There's like a car that's disabled in the left-hand lane, and you're like, this is what I waited 6 miles for. So when you see a 3rd and 14 penalty come out on the defense, you're like, all right, this has got to be blatant. Someone got dragged down. Yeah. And you see a guy that literally touches someone on the hip or doesn't touch him at all. Those are the most puzzling, because the flag comes out and you're like, well, what the fuck did the guy see to even throw the flag?
Well, we all know, there's no disputing this. It's indisputable that those calls happen in the fourth quarter of close games on third and 10
down.
or longer.
Third and
10 or longer. It's indisputable. That's where those calls are. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I guarantee it's over 80% of those calls are in that situation. So that's the NFL doing the opposite of having invisible officials. That's when you shouldn't be calling that under any circumstances. If you want to call that, call it in the first half if you think you see it. At that point, you hit that 7-minute mark in the fourth quarter of an NFL game, you better be murdering somebody, like Cardone said it, like in a hockey game. There shouldn't be a bunch of holding calls. There, pass interference should be literally if you tackle the receiver. Defensive holding should be, if you actually freaking hold somebody, that would be nice if that were that's
an oxymoron bizarre in itself. Defensive holding is rarely a hold.
Yeah.
It's usually like a guy impeding another person, and then they call it defensive holding. And it's always, you ever notice, even with scrambling quarterbacks, it's always like before the passer left the pocket, defensive holding. Oh, yeah. How the hell was it when he was out of the pocket immediately?
Yeah.
Before the pass.
It's so bad right now. Like I swear that the answer cannot be more officials or putting emphasis on this call or de-emphasizing this call. That can't be the answer, because they're just outclassed out there on that field.
Yeah.
We have got to do something else other than officials. There's no way to get them good enough the way it is.
Well, like we said last week, why is there an emphasis on illegal contact this year? Was there really an outcry that there was too much illegal contact? Why not have an emphasis on calling egregious fouls rather than petty shit?
Right. And like Cardone said, either a little bit of a different topic, but in all my life, I've been around thousands of football fans. Have you ever heard one say, these games are too long? No one's ever said that.
I want a quicker game so I can get to the rest of my day doing something else. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Shorten the game. It's like, wait, who wants that? Who decided that? Been watching the games our whole lives. Who has said these fucking games, they take forever? I can't stand sitting on my couch watching game after game. Enough. Shorten this shit. Who's doing that?
I love the announcers that still say, "Oh, why did he run out of bounds there?"
Yeah.
Why the fuck does it matter? The clock keeps rolling anyway. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
When there's,
I'll give you like
7 minutes left. Why? Oh, he went out of bounds. Rookie mistake. No.
An analogy, like, the Yankee Red Sox, those 4.5 hour games they used to have during the Tory era with, I loved those games, man. It was, every game, a Red Sox Yankee game used to be 4+ hours. They talk about it as if it's this excruciating experience. My God, I got to sit here. It's sort of like, Neil Page in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles sitting listening to an insurance seminar for days. Like Del Griffith is giving us insurance. I could sit there all day and watch a 4-hour football game. They're talking now about the college game.
Hours.
Yeah, college football games now. They're too long. We got to do something to shorten the college football game. Why don't we just I tell you what, just have a fucking running clock. Don't even bother. Let's not have halftime. Let's just have, or better yet, just have a make it like a play date, where it's like it just 2-hour window and it just ends. It's sort of like you're renting the field for 2 hours and like everyone get out, time's up, the next game's coming in.
You know who thinks we're pussies? Cricket fans.
Yeah,
right? They're probably right.
Like, we went 4 days with this shit. What the fuck are you guys crying about?
Yeah, the first inning was 3 hours. Like, But speaking of 3 hours, our whole lives, a football game has been 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
No matter what they've done, what rule changes they've made, keep the clock running, out of bounds, whatever they've done, an NFL football game is 3 hours. Why does it fucking matter?
But you know what, Mike? It still is. It's less football. It's more it's more commercials. More
Yeah, you're right. We want to keep the game at 3 hours, but we want to get more ads.
But it's actually less football.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
All right. Let's move it along here. We're running long. Pet peeves. Anyone have pet peeves this week?
I'll stand on my last 10 minutes as a pet peeve and let Cardone give us something to get angry about.
I have, I got to be honest, guys. It's not that crazy a pet peeve. It's sort of, coming off the Dallas loss, you knew this was going to happen. It's not even a pet peeve. It's just a continuing disdain for the media. And especially when you're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, because I'll just call it the waffling. And maybe I think the three of us we're pretty objective about our Giants, or in terms of expectations. I mean, that's the team we focus on the most, obviously, right? But listening to Michael Irvin and Stephen A. Smith and these other jackoffs break down, and whenever it's the Dallas Cowboys, guys, it's absolutely, it touches a nerve more than any other team in this league. This team was dead, buried, season over. Dak Prescott, when 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, when he was out for, at the time seemed like 8 weeks, and you went around the league and this team, it was all about the Dallas Cowboys and another lost season, as if the non-Dallas Cowboy fans, we fucking love it. We don't give a the NFL will thrive just like it always does, whether or not the Dallas Cowboys are winning anything. We've been doing it for now 26 years, or 27, whenever the last freaking Super Bowl title is.
We have enough of a sample size.
We have listeners that are they weren't even alive for the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. I better not be eating my words, anytime soon with that. But guys, it's this. So then, of course, all we heard on Tuesday, how impressive was this Cowboy win? And now Cooper Rush, he's the man. And there's a quarterback controversy now with Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott and all this right in Dallas, and Jerry Jones, who looks like a corpse, by the way, up in the box. I mean, this guy looks like that guy from Poltergeist.
Skeletor.
Yeah. Remember Poltergeist 2, where the demon, whatever, showed his face? I can't remember that guy, right? It's like a
I
fucking
still can't get past Joe Beth Williams' tits in Poltergeist 1.
Yeah.
They look like nubs.
That's who Jerry Jones looks like, the guy from Poltergeist. That was cracking through the Earth's the stratosphere from the evil beyond. Oh my God! So
That's
you know when you were a kid and you wanted to watch Skinamax late at night or something like that, or HBO when they had like the nude shots. Joe Beth Williams ruined all that for me. I saw her naked in Poltergeist. I was like, I don't want to see a naked old lady after this ever again. She was probably 32 at that time.
God,
that's upsetting.
Why you after Joe Beth Williams, man? That's come on. She seems like a perfectly nice person.
She might be. She needed
Scott says, I don't like your tits. You have no value to me.
I was 7. She looked bad.
I'm glad I'm not the worst woman hater on the podcast now. Kidding.
That's a great point, though. I mean, the funny thing too is you ride that roller coaster all year long. So Dak gets hurt. It's like, well, we got to get Dak back. Do you really want Dak back that quickly right now? If you're the Cowboys, they're doing okay with Cooper Rush. If Dak comes back and all of a sudden they start doing badly, then you got a quarterback controversy.
Well, right.
You're dealing with.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Yeah.
And they keep trying to rush Dak back. I saw Stephen Jones the week before the Giants game. Well, Dak might be back for the Giants game. The fuck he will. He just had surgery 2 weeks ago. Come on.
Bring him back.
Fuck.
Yeah. I welcome him back.
I've seen Cooper Rush 2 games. And even though Tony Romo was, stitching up a gold jacket for him while he was playing, I do admit that the guy, I mean, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. There's nothing, like I said earlier, you could replace, in my opinion, Dak Prescott into that game where Cooper Rush just played, and there wouldn't be a whole lot different in that game to me. There just wouldn't. It's not, Dak's not Joe Montana or Terry Bradshaw, striking downfield 70 yards on you. It's not, that's not what's happening. It's Dak Prescott's game looks remarkably similar to Cooper Rush's game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's.
So we talked about stats and analytics last week as one of our pet peeves, and I'm just going to build upon that because there was a next gen stat during the Giants game where Micah Parsons lined up at. What is next generation about telling you where Micah Parsons lined up?
Yeah, I remember.
It's literally looking and seeing where he is and saying he's over on the right side, he's over on the left side, he's in the center. What is next generation about that?
Yeah.
Great question. Nothing.
No, Madden used to do it with a pen.
Well, you see this guy here. He's over here.
Yeah. No, the next gen. I mean, we are in such a terrible age right now to be watching football. Thankfully for all of our bitching, the game really hasn't changed all that much on the field except for the way they handcuff the defense. But just this next gen stat, analytic, PFF rating garbage. It gives idiots what they think is data to argue with. And it's not data. Any stat, like we said a couple weeks ago, that says Daniel Jones has the most time to throw of any quarterback in the NFL, that stat is wrong. It's not data. Well, it's wrong.
And let's break that stat down because that stat is actually time from snap to release.
Yeah.
So if you watch the Cowboy game, there were a couple plays where Daniel Jones had to hold on to the ball for 5.5 seconds before throwing it, not because he wanted to, but because he was scrambling from side to side and then threw the ball. So you know who leads the categories in those? It's all the mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah,
so Lamar Jackson's up there.
Jalen Hurts is
up there. Murray's up there. All these guys are up there. And people want it as an indictment of the quarterback. Well, you're not using this to slam Lamar Jackson, are you?
Yeah, right. And it's what they're really what the people that I've seen who use that stat, what they try to do is, you're right. They try to use it to say the Giants offensive line is not as bad as you say it is.
Yeah, because it's a quarterback.
Because Daniel Jones has more time to throw the ball than, 75% of the quarterbacks in the NFL. That is, maybe you blame it on the people interpreting the stat, not the people who created the stat. But if that stat is a real stat from snap to time to throw the ball, what is that stat for then? Because it doesn't tell you anything.
No, it tells you nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, any stat that compares, that makes Troy Aikman and Lamar Jackson look like the same quarterback is a worthless stat. Troy Aikman's back there, making a cup of coffee, but he's not even moving 1 inch left to right. And he's got 8 seconds. Lamar Jackson is, he's running from sideline to sideline and throwing a 2-yard out. But they have the same time to throw.
Yeah, and that sort of builds on what we said last week about the analytics is one thing. Analytics is the breakdown of statistics so you can find some patterns. What PFF and these next generation stats do is they try to portray themselves of analytics when really all they are is, I'll use the term again, stat porn. They're stat porn. That's all it is.
Well, it's especially with the PFF, right? So PFF is somebody's opinion changed, converted to data.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
converted to a numerical scale to make it look authentic.
Yes. And they say, well, this is data. This isn't, you can't argue this. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Because where did the data come from? It came from people who really aren't qualified to break down a football play.
You guys know where PFF originated?
Don't.
China.
The UK.
Really?
It was a bunch of guys that were in an office in the UK watching NFL games trying to break it down. So literally the first iteration of PFF people had no knowledge of football whatsoever.
I rest my case.
Yeah.
Your Honor, I have no more witnesses.
But then Chris Collinsworth became a financial backer, and all of a sudden now it's legitimate. Because we're gonna say it when they were on Monday Night Football. We're going to talk about, what it is. And then on Sunday Night Football, they always talk about PFF. And they put the little rankings next to the guys, when they're doing the intros, when they're talking about what high school they went to. They're doing the intros, and then it's like PFF rated 12. Who gives a fuck?
It's beyond mind-numbing. It's, like I said, it's really what we've done with this PFF and some of these other things we have now is we've weaponized football idiots. Mm-hmm. We used to be able to talk to these people in a bar and just ridicule them and make them, sulk their head and walk away. And now they're all referencing PFF scores and, they've weaponized stats against us.
And here's the thing too. I mean, it's not just PFF and the stats. Sports journalism as a whole has gone to the situation where it's not about reporting. It's sort of like radio from 20 years ago. It's all about shock jock. Mm-hmm. It's become a cesspool of hot takes. When a guy like Skip Bayless actually has airtime, he is there for one reason only. He's there to have people like us talk about what a schmuck he is and his take. Oh, well, they're talking about me. And that's all ESPN wants. They just want, well, he's not even on ESPN, but that's what people want. They just want us to talk about them rather than them reporting the facts. Colin Cowherd is another one. The guy just says shit and then, I got retweeted, 13 million times today.
Yeah. Skip Bayless is just nothing more than a Dallas plant in the media. I mean, that's all he is. He's
insufferable.
There. Yeah, he's just there.
Yeah.
And of course, like Scott said, if you want to ruffle people's feathers and get them to tweet about you, then come on the air and be an obnoxious Dallas fan. That is going to get, Skip Bayless probably, the camera turns off, he takes his microphone off, and, he and Shannon Sharp or whoever probably high five and laugh. And, Skip Bayless is like a Cleveland Browns fan, who knows, right?
You know what I love is that there are Twitter accounts out there that are unabashedly just fake accounts, and they fool people all the time. The Giants have one. It's this guy, Wes Steinberg.
Wes Steinberg, he's awesome.
Wes Steinberg is awesome. He gets people to retweet him all the time. But what the fuck are you talking about? It's a parody account. You can tell by the way he says things, and people fall for it. It's like Wes Steinberg leads the league in doubles over people's heads.
Yeah, he's
Don Mattingly on steroids.
He is. Yeah, I love it. I mean,
Donnie Baseball.
He will post something like, the Dolphins offered the Giants Tua and what's the old receiver for Kansas City?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. The Dolphins offered Tua and Tyreek Hill to the Giants for Daniel Jones, and the Giants said no. And they're like, there'll be 1,000 responses after that of people going, I hate this fucking team. How, because they literally in their mind, they play Madden and fantasy football. They believe that. They believe that, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And when he puts things on there that, like, for Scott and I, we look at it and don't even, like, you read the first 3 words and you start laughing. And this guy's gonna, you go in there and way more than 50% of the people think it's real. Way more.
Eli Manning wanted to come out of retirement, but the Giants would not let him. What?
Yeah.
Why can't we have Eli back?
Yeah.
Come on. Chad Powers wants to make a return.
Oh,
Chad Powers.
I
gotta get that
How
t-shirt.
great was that Peyton had the Chad Powers
Oh.
t-shirt on?
I got to get that. I have to get one of those.
He probably sold 1 million of those T-shirts that night. By the way, so the Chad Powers clip, awesome. And then I don't
Penn
know
State.
if you guys saw the other one where Eli is. They've got people's pictures up on the goalposts, and you have to knock down the pictures. And Eli's playing it like against some current Giants and stuff. Eli can still chuck that ball.
Oh,
Eli can still throw the ball. That Penn State clip,
course.
that was impressive. Like, Eli, come on, dude.
Was it
I'll
think
hold
fast,
this-
run fast?
Yeah, fast, run fast. Think fast, run fast. I'll hold this back for next week, but I knew a guy that was a high school quarterback that in his 40s was still chucking beans, but I'll tell that story next week. You guys got anything more this week?
The only one of my notes I didn't really get off this week, and we kind of touched on it, but I didn't go into it with as much detail as we would have liked, is there a worse player who's considered great in the NFL than Ezekiel Elliott? That was my comment going to be on him. When he's on the field, when I see 21, I breathe such a sigh of relief that Tony Pollard is not on the field. I mean, it's amazing. And I know Dallas likes to run the ball a lot, so they probably have to have 2 backs. But the idea of them splitting carries, I believe, is Dallas leaving points on the field every week.
Yeah.
Every week, if you're going to split carries. But Tony Pollard is such a better running back than Ezekiel Elliott. It's not even funny. And then, they started on the broadcast. Well, they got to have Ezekiel there to block. Tony Pollard's blocking his ass off from everything I could see. So I if I were Dallas, I might consider the Herschel Walker trade part 2 and trade Ezekiel Elliott while he's still got some fake value.
Perceived value. Yeah.
Yeah, perceived
fourth
value.
rounder.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's no player like considered a potential Hall of Famer and one of the top 3 running backs in the league or whatever, who is actually as bad as that.
Great call, Mike.
He's
He's a non-factor.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel like he's a non-factor.
And the worst part is he got to do the feed me thing on Monday.
Of course.
Again.
Well, he scored the
of course
got
he's
the
going to score
touchdown.
against the Giants naturally.
Dick.
But
yeah,
he is. To me, if the Cowboys didn't have Pollard, their running game would be almost non-existent. Ezekiel Elliott is he's good for like a 3rd and 1 now. That should be his role.
Yeah.
He should be the fullback who comes in and gets the dirty yards.
It's like Tony Galbraith back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Galbraith.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good call.
3rd down back.
Giants
short
and
yardage guy.
Saints.
Yeah.
So that was the only note I had here that we didn't really get into.
Yeah, well, we did go long this week. We try to keep our episodes about an hour or about an hour and a half or so. So the video people get bonus coverage, I guess. So this is the first time they're seeing us. We are the 3 Angry Giant Fans. This is your host, Scott, Giant Mike and Cardone. Hit us up on Twitter at angry_3. And don't forget, guys, go to manscaped.com and you can get 20% off and free shipping if you insert the code AngryMan. Your balls will thank you. We will thank you. Manscaped will thank you. But we appreciate the support you guys have given us, and we're really looking forward. He gets to show a video that we haven't had before, so we're really looking forward to our new video line too. So go to YouTube and search 3 Angry Giant Fans, and you will find our channel. and we look forward to seeing you guys next week talking about the Bears. So have a good
Yes.
week.
Let's go Blue.
Go Giants.
Go Big Blue.